I guess I'm going to be adding Optimize Penelope's teleportation spell to my post-patricide to-do list. How can she use this all the time and not want to vomit? No, wait, Master Biomancer. Stupid question on my part. That's about all the thinking I get to do before I'm not where I was before, instead staring down ours with a follow-up teleport at the ready. I don't have time to look at my surroundings, I have to act immediately. He's close, well within both mana field and soul yoink range. I attempt both immediately, but he teleports. That's both mildly annoying and entirely expected. I teleport after him and go for the same tactic, the mana channeled in his soul now completely expended. I know it won't be for more than a second or two, if that, but that's all the time I need. I reach for him, ignoring the smug look on his face that I don't really register before my entire world turns into pain. I scream, my mind blinded by raw agony. Oz is right next to me, he's right there, but I can't move, I can't even think. What is happening? Fuck, no. I refuse to get put at this bastard's mercy. I pull as much mana as I can up through my connection, and the screaming pain immediately multiplies as I set off a modest explosion inside my own body. I cough, wet and painful, blood spraying out of the breathing vents on my sides. He's pumping Watcher mana into my body somehow. No wonder everything hurts so damn much. Ooh, that doesn't look good, Oz says, wincing as my blood splatters on the floor. Don't go killing yourself, now. I don't think your soul could survive without a vessel in the current environment. Oh, you've got to be. This little motherfucker played me. He teleported directly into a trap set for me. I do everything I can to ignore the pain, looking around the room and seeing all the metal, all the insane enchantments which concentrate absurd quantities of Mistwatcher mana right into this spot. It's forcing its way in, ravaging my soul. I have to hide. I have to get into my mana tunnel. The Watcher mana might try to follow, but I'll be able to hold it off a lot more easily in such a narrow passageway. Its flow will be the same as mine. It'll hurt, but I can do it. Assuming I can focus through this pain long enough to do anything. Taking wet, ragged breaths, I flee deeper inside myself, but the pain isn't going away. It's slow, so slow, because I have to retract all the anima threads I've grown throughout the inside of my body, feeling them excruciatingly slither around my organs in reverse, sucked into my tunnel as little strings of torment. The mana keeps worming itself deeper inside me, filling my body, the pressure mounting further and further. Oz watches inquisitively as I alternate between screaming and choking on blood, my soul fleeing deeper and deeper into another dimension, the metal around me pushing that awful, horrible, piss-colored mana down the path to follow me, clogging the channel between the physical and the spiritual, getting more and more in the way until suddenly, the pain stops, and I can no longer feel my soul. The pain rages, and I can no longer feel my body. I gasp in shock, though the intake of air quickly turns into another coughing fit thanks to the quickly healing damage to my lungs. My superior Athanatos biology isn't going to drown itself just because of a little airway bleeding, though my situation definitely isn't what I would call favorable. I underestimated the most dangerous man on the plentiful wood, and I'm paying for it. I have to say, the situation feels familiar. I start to stand up, not willing to remain on my hands and knees any longer than necessary. My attempt at bravado isn't all that effective, however, considering the near-panicked shaking in my limbs. Thousands and thousands of souls, gone from my senses in an instant. Every movement of mana is now invisible. I try to move my tendrils, and they don't respond to me. They aren't here. I have been rendered impotent on the most fundamental level possible. I have lost access to myself. Everything is so quiet, so small. I'm used to having a constant, massive stream of information coming from everyone around me for miles, and now all of a sudden, nothing. The silence has the weight of dread behind it, a constant reminder that no matter how much I try to reach out, try to feel the souls around me, I can't. I'm weak, too, reduced to my baseline strength without anima threads to back me up. Not to mention the fact that, without a soul, I can't weave the art. How am I even alive? Severing the soul-body connection should have killed this body via brain death, but my brain obviously still works. My best guess, just to pull a theory out of my ass, since I really don't know, is that the Mistwatcher mana is blocking my soul-brain connection, since that would normally use my mana to function, but the actual animat construct which forms the connection itself is undamaged. That's about the only thing that makes sense, I suppose. If only understanding the problem meant I could do anything about it. I refuse to despair, though. I'm restricted to physicality. The absolute worst situation for a war queen to be in, sure, but it doesn't mean I'm completely powerless. We train for this kind of thing. I quickly take stock of my surroundings. I'm in a cramped cell that Ars exited and locked up while I was busy screaming and seizing on the ground. I can see the metal enchantments that concentrate obscene amounts of mana into the cell and forcibly push it into my body, but I can't reach them. The rest of the room has similar spells, each with what appear to be different custom enchantments. It's honestly quite impressive. Ars has clearly prepared a lot in the handful of months he's had. It's honestly kind of mind-boggling. Until I remember he has the resources and manpower of a little nation at his beck and call. Still, if I'm right, this means he prepared a custom trap room for who even knows how many people. Probably at least me, Penelope, and the High Templars. No, probably not Penelope. He wouldn't have known she was a threat until the last couple weeks or so, during which Penelope knew about and was actively thwarting Ars' self-propagating talent. And even then I'd be surprised if he knew enough about what she was capable of to prepare a specific set of counters to her. I don't even know enough about what Penelope is capable of to prepare a specific set of counters to her. Shame that we double teleported, so she won't be able to track us here. I might be fucked. I'm absolutely fucked. The torrent of mana constantly assaulting me is so relentless it has cut off access to my own damn body. I can plug the hole well enough, but I can't push back. And I have no idea what's going to happen to me. I might already be dead, my body killed when my soul lost contact with it and my soul unable to return to the material plane before I eventually run out of me to trade away to stem the tide of Mistwatcher mana. I'm not exactly in danger of that happening anytime soon. My mana channel is so thin that I'm basically trying to drink a lake through a straw. Unless I can get back to the meat dimension, though, I'm pretty much completely impotent. But just pretty much. There's still one thing I can do. Hey Nora, I poke my big sister. I could use some advice. I'm honestly not sure what to say, Ars muses, rubbing his chin in thought. He looks a lot better than he did the last time I saw him, I'll give him that. I mean, his soul doesn't, not from what I saw of it, but his body sure does. He reminds me a bit of Penelope's old fiancé. Tall and sharp in that serious way older men tend to get when they start thinking about everything in terms of asset and cost. Narrowed eyes stare down at me past a hooked nose, calculations churning behind them. His short black hair isn't graying yet, though it looks like he's one bad day away from his first treacherous strand. That or he dyes it. No, wait, of course he doesn't dye it. He obviously has someone else dye it. You could start with hello, I quip, trying to buy myself time to think. Of course, how rude of me, he smirks, nodding in my direction. It's good to see you again after so long, Vita. I always knew the prodigal daughter would return. Malrosa, I correct, my mouth running somewhat on autopilot as I try to calculate the odds of getting him close enough to reach through the bars and break his neck. Would that even help, though? Without my soul, I can't kill his soul. Pardon? He asks. My name is Malrosa, I say. Or? I guess it's the name I prefer right now. I kinda merged with Vito a little, and yeah, it's a bit weird. Oh, interesting. Ars says, grinning happily. You know, I generally opt to groom my bodies into perfect loyalty before implanting myself in them. Generally prevents that sort of dissonance when the subject has every desire and intention to let themselves melt away on your behalf. Well, that's good to know. And also horrifying. I'll keep that in mind, I answer, glad I don't have to fake a facial expression around the crazy human. I would not succeed. See that you do. He chuckles. Now then, onto business. You wouldn't happen to know where your soul has gone, would you? So he doesn't know? Did he predict the debilitating pain but not the separation? Feel free to come closer and find out, I taunt. Not because there's anything I can do if he does, but because I want him to think there is. Oh, no thank you, he declines politely. I can perform all the investigations I require from a distance. Well, fuck. I hope my soul is doing better than I am, because I have no idea what I should do next. So basically, I don't really know what to do next, I admit. I've never really played around much on this side of things. Can we even cast spells in this universe? Oh, certainly, Nora confirms. They just can't really affect the other universe. Well, I suppose there's likely some way to cast a spell here and have it affect the world over there, but it would likely be prohibitively expensive. Establishing mana channels is work enough. What if I cast a spell inside a mana channel? I ask. Is your tunnel thick enough to fit a complete spell formation? Nora asks. Well, no, I admit. There's your answer, then. Generally speaking though, it still doesn't work. But your situation is a bit strange, I'll admit. At the very least, I am confident that your body is still alive. Why's that? I ask. Well, you said your soul is inside your mana channel, yes? She asks. If that's the case, what is your mana channel connected to on the other end? Oh, duh, it has to be my brain. The tunnel needs an anchor, and since it can't anchor to my soul while my soul is inside it. Exactly, Nora confirms. That brain of yours might even still be conscious, working to solve the problem over on its end. I don't envy the experience, I can tell you that much. It'd be like back before I hatched, I grumble. Awful. Anyway, though, any advice on how to get out of this mess? Well, whatever you do, don't let Big Brother get its mana any deeper into your channel, Nora insists. If he notices what's going on, we're both dead. I will do everything in my power to prevent that, I assure her. Good. For obvious reasons, I wouldn't be able to allow such a situation. Now in terms of reconnecting with your body, there are a few things I can do to help out, but honestly that's not all that important of a problem right now anyway. It isn't? I ask. Why not? Because you've been disconnected from your brain, Vita, Nora answers patiently. Your soul probably isn't set up to handle that for very long, so chances are you'll rapidly degrade to a feral state within a few minutes. Oh. Yeah. That sounds important. What should I do? Give me access to your soul, dearest, Nora writes. I'll take care of everything for you. Well. If that's not the most obvious red flag I've ever seen, I don't know what is. So I take it that your plan involves mind controlling me, then, I comment, ignoring my urge to pace since I don't want to put any unneeded strain on my wounds. What? Ars asks, blinking owlishly at me as if he'd forgotten I was here. The dude just started casting something, and without my mana sight I'm not really confident I can figure out what it is. Oh. No. Well, if necessary, I suppose. I don't actually have any idea how to influence your mind with animancy, and while I intend to rectify that gap of knowledge it isn't because I wish to influence your soul. You're a unique and valuable specimen, after all. Forgive my skepticism, but I have a little difficulty believing that since you clearly intend to mind control everyone else on the entire island. Everyone else on the island is a largely unmodified human being, which has long since ceased to be a relevant resource, Ars explains, somewhat tiredly. You, on the other hand, are the result of years of tireless research and irreplaceable materials. Or at least irreplaceable until I finish my studies on you, hopefully. I'm flattered, I answer tonelessly, which Ars responds to with a chuckle. What materials are those, exactly? Your anima structure, obviously, he answers. I'm skilled, certainly, but not skilled enough to craft you from scratch. Your soul is a mix between functions I designed for testing purposes and pre-existing soul strata far beyond my level of expertise. It took quite a few tries to get you functional, you know. I think it was. I don't know. A dozen attempts before you'd stop killing your vessel the moment I integrated you? I grimace. Are you implying that you caused a dozen human children to be stillborn while trying to create me? I ask. Ars raises an eyebrow at me. What should I have used? Rats? Would you have rather been an animal? I don't really have a response to that. Come on, Malrosa. You need to stop being freaked out by all these man-made horrors unfortunately within your comprehension and plot a way to escape this cage already. I was High Inquisitor, you know, Ars comments idly as he returns to his spellcraft. I'm fully cognizant of the amount of sin I get up to on a daily basis. I've chosen this path in spite of that, but I'm certainly aware. I do what I do for a reason. And what reason might that be? I ask, judging myself healed enough to step forwards and test the bars of the cage. There's no way a human would be able to budge them, but I am an Athanatos, one enhanced beyond our usual baseline of strength at that. He'd know I have enhanced strength from our escape of Site 4, but there's no way he'd know how enhanced. If I can keep him talking and get him distracted enough, I might have a chance. The moment I'm out of this damn cell, the instant I'm no longer being glutted with Watcher mana, he's mine. Knowledge, of course, ours answers. Surely you've noticed that the nature of our world is that of a slaughterhouse. The teachings of the Church of the Mistwatcher are nothing but ancient superstition that was allowed to fester and evolve into dogma, one that strangles people into ignorance and weakness. Well, we can certainly agree that the Church is bullshit, I allow. I just get a little lost during the steps between that revelation and the therefore we should mind control everyone in the world bit. Do you now? That's interesting, coming from a member of your current species. Malrosa, you said your name was Now? Don't you have an entire mind-controlled working class? Can you honestly say that's any different? Yes. I insist. No, I messaged Nora. Sorry, I don't mean any offense, but I don't know you that well, and I'm not comfortable letting you play around with me. She sends me a mix of amusement and impatience. Under any other circumstances, I'd call that quite a sensible philosophy, Nora assures me. But I promise you, sister, that I am not attempting to take advantage of your weakness, I am trying to save you from it. And not in that euphemistic sort of way in which one saves someone from the weakness of free will or some such. Although that is a fun little trick. Okay, you were starting to convince me until that last sentence there, I hedge. Her amusement becomes exasperation. Vita. I'm serious. You are most likely dying. Please let me help. You are important to me both personally and as an asset to my plans. Well, now you sound like my girlfriend, I grumble. Are you sure I'm dying? I feel normal, and as best I can tell I'm still normal. Plus, my soul has all this structure in it I used to create long-lasting sapient undead that degrade really, really slowly. It doesn't really make sense that I'd degrade faster than that. Now she's sending curiosity, and her concern has somewhat abated. Huh? That's very interesting, Nora admits. I don't have anything like that. Have you ever been undead before? Yeah, I confirm. Did you start to lose yourself at all during that experience? Oh, shoot. I did, didn't I? I went all feral on everyone after Lark chopped my head in half. Okay, yeah, I did, I admit. But that's so weird. Get over here and we'll figure it out together, Nora insists. Your soul is already in your mana tunnel, so you may as well bring it all the way into this dimension. Okay, I acquiesce. I'm gonna be mad if you try to mind control me, though. Well, that's the neat part about mind control, you actually won't be. Oh, ha. I swim down my infinite tunnel, getting to my destination in no time at all. It's a tight squeeze to fit my soul in here in the first place, so when I emerge from the other side and finally have room to stretch my tentacles again, it's quite the relief. I get a strange and thankfully brief self-cannibalistic urge as my soul enters my mana sea, but I ignore it. I do feel weirdly naked, though. On a whim, I craft a faux body out of mana. It's not really a body in any sense of the word, it's just my old human form sculpted from mana, still as intangible as an illusion. Still, it's comfier than just floating around without anything to act as protection, even if that protection is literally just an act. I quickly relocate myself to the edge of my mana sea, where my border with Nora rests. She emotes a bit of surprise and interest when she sees me and my faux body, so I give her a little wave and she absolutely erupts with delight. Well, aren't you a cute little thing? She coos. Oh my goodness gracious, is that what you look like? Such a small little human? If we had flesh in here I'd pinch your adorable cheeks so hard. It's what I used to look like, I tell her. My body's pretty different right now, but this one was my body for most of my life, so I guess it's what came to mind? Well, Vita, we absolutely have to meet in person soon. I'd love to see you however you look. But let's see about helping you survive until then, yes? You're right. You do have parts of your soul dedicated towards preventing disembodied animal degeneration. Are they just not hooked up? Oh goodness, they aren't. Why are Ask. Because they're inexorably linked to a control system. Well darling, that's an easy enough fix. May I do the honors, or would you prefer I show you the constructs so you can craft them yourself? Well, that's a difficult question. I'm not honestly sure I have the animancy knowledge to know what she's doing to me either way. She could be tricking me and I'd have no idea. She probably is. Can I take the risk? Why should I take the risk? Is there even anything wrong with me? It's already starting, Vita, Nora says. Please decide quickly. She forms a small, imperfect replica diagram of my soul with her own mana, pointing to and emphasizing various parts of it. This is the part that's currently degrading, she points out. It's right next to the part that's supposed to connect with your brain, but that bit is already gone, so it's spreading from there. This is an emotional center, I think. If I'm right, you'll start feeling more and more aggressive, until eventually you lose the capacity for rational thought, consume your own soul, and die. I bristle at that. It's plausible, but that doesn't necessarily mean it isn't bullshit. I'm already feeling aggressive, but why shouldn't I be? I've been torn in two by the bastard to end all bastards, and now I'm being coerced into letting a powerful animancer I barely know get access to my soul. She probably just said that because she can feel that I'm getting angrier and more suspicious, and is trying to make me get suspicious of my suspicion. Also, she can twist me into something else, someone else. She's probably the only person in the world who can. She's probably way more dangerous than ours. I shouldn't be asking her for help, I should be figuring out a way to kill her, too. I am starting to feel as though you're not listening to me, Nora muses. Fuck you, I write furiously. Ah, that would explain it, she answers. Alright, well, I suppose your consent was optional the moment you got this close. Sorry, but you'll thank me later. Somehow, I find that hard to believe, Ars muses. Your mind controlling hundreds of thousands of people without their consent. I protest. Whereas you mind control hundreds of thousands of people that aren't capable of giving consent, Ars scoffs. This is generally considered to be comparatively egregious. There is a huge difference between mind controlling someone and simply creating a person. Twisting an already established individual into something else is morally wrong, but workers and soldiers aren't being twisted. They're born that way, their manufactured souls are what they are from the start. Why would designed soul conception be more evil than randomized soul conception? The implication is absurd. The randomization process results in far more misfortune, suffering, and evil than designed individuals. What a remarkably twisted outlook, Ars muses. The lengths people go to deliver their minds from the idea that they might be doing evil has always been an interest of mine. It's fascinating. I'm not speaking in terms of theory, I sneer at him. My society is demonstrably better than yours, arsehole. And so you stand as the righteous hero, incapable of fault, and I lay low as the foul villain, incapable of righteousness. I know how it goes. I was just hoping for a bit more self-awareness from my own daughter. I have good reasons to disagree with you, I protest. You can't just say that I lack self-awareness because you think I'm wrong. I know I'm no hero. When I turn people into revenants, that's exactly what I'm calling you out for. And frankly, I've been planning to keep doing that anyway. He smiles at that, nodding. Well, do forgive me, then. I suppose we're not as different as I feared. Which is fortunate, because the current state of affairs is rather frustrating. He taps his chin, seeming to look at something that I can't see. The results of a spell, maybe. I still can't find you, he admits. You seem to be completely soulless, and yet your brain-soul pathway is still intact. It just leads nowhere. It's all this watcher mana in the air, I tell him frankly, since he's probably already guessed that. It's stifling me. And yet, I suspect it's also what is preventing you from assassinating me, Ars sighs. It's quite a pickle. Is there any way I could convince you to simply not assassinate me? I need to continue my studies, and your cooperation would be beneficial. That's intriguing. An offer of truce, is it? I feel like I'm pretty terrible in terms of negotiating, but actually, you know what? No. I'm not terrible at negotiating. I'm not terrible at talking. V2 is, the Lich is, but I don't even have a soul right now. I'm not a Lich, though I'm arguably not even a Nathanatos either. I can't sense his emotions or read his mind. I'm just Melrosa. And I can figure this out. Well, the whole reason we came after you is because of your infectious talent, I tell him. It was pretty directly interfering with my own conquest plans. Your conquest plans, you say? Oz smiles. Making a nation of your own, are you? One without the church in power, I confirm, and without the ban on on animancy. Oz takes a step, just a single step, towards the cell. I'm listening. I'm not listening to this shit. I project raw fury, an instinct to roar and hiss smothered by my lack of body to do so with. She thinks she can just push me around? Me? Nora calmly shapes a larger mass of mana than I've ever been able to bring into the world at one time before and turns it all into a single spell. It smashes through all the mana surrounding my soul and my magic resistance with all the subtlety of a hammer, burning and twisting me with excruciating force. I feel her start to change me, to fiddle around inside me, to alter the real me, the true me, into something else. She could be doing anything, and I can't stop her. All right, done, Nora writes. That wasn't so bad, was it? What? I'm done, Nora repeats. I just had to decouple the Revenant loyalty system from the Revenant integrity system and hook the latter up to you. Congratulations. Your soul is now fully independent from the need for a body, at least up until the point Big Brother notices you hanging around and eats you. Oh, I write back, feeling more than a little flummoxed. Just like that? I'm not mind-controlled or whatever? Well, are you angry at me for doing that without your permission? A little, yeah, I admit. Then probably not, I would wager, Nora answers, projecting the emotional equivalent of an eye roll. I'm not so insecure as to need a slave more than I want a family, It's enough for me to see you healthy, dear sister. Huh? Okay. I'm really not sure how to feel about this. Why are so many mass-murdering monsters in my life so nice? I'm not used to this sort of thing working out for me, I admit. Well, if it makes you feel any better, you're still in mortal danger. Right. Any ideas on getting me back to my body? I ask. A few, though none of them are ideal, Nora admits. The obvious answer is to simply increase the throughput of your mana channel until you can overcome whatever pressure is forcing you to retreat into it, but that's not something you can reasonably accomplish in the short term. Though am I right to assume your current predicament is due to that man you said you were hunting? I did come up with a few interesting permutations on that dreadful cascading loyalty animac construct that I think you'll find amusing. Oh? I ask. I'm tempted to replace the love and loyalty with hate and aggression, Nora admits. It would be delightfully fitting for a man like that to be torn apart by his former devotees. What do you think? Won't work, I say. As funny as that would be, he won't die when he's killed. His soul needs to be smashed directly, and I suspect that if there were any animancers skilled enough to kill him, he wouldn't have been able to infect them with that talent in the first place. That is a valid point. But why wouldn't there be any? Oh brother below, you're on a human island, aren't you? Nora laments. Of course you are, why else would your body be human? I honestly have no idea how humans successfully evolved social structures with such an absurd bias towards individuality. I swear, the only human societies which don't ban animancy research are the ones that are ruled by animancers. Humans are pretty lame, I agree. Well, they're not all bad, Nora hedges. I've certainly met worse species, but I've met better ones, too. I've made better ones, for that matter. I have my fake body make a performative sigh. I hope to be able to meet them someday, I say. I'd love to just have some peace and quiet with nothing to do for a while, you know? Go exploring other islands, see the world, and just relax. It's a good thing to do when you're young, Nora agrees. It's hard to find the time though, isn't it? Always one crisis after another. Yeah, I agree. By the time you're safe, secure, and stable enough to start exploring other islands, you're already public enemy number one on most of them. She continues. Yeah, I agree a little less enthusiastically. So, about helping me out of this place? Yes, about that, Nora muses. There are things that I can do, but all of them would be substantial investments of resources on my part. And while you are family, and therefore quite worth that sort of investment, it would be wrong of me to spoil you. So you want something in return, I finish for her. So I want something in return. She confirms happily. Besides, your reaction to my last bit of charity makes me suspect that you're the kind of person to be untrusting of charity anyway. Negotiations always go smoother when both sides are aware of what the other person is hoping to gain, don't you think? So what are you hoping to gain from this? I ask Ars. I know you want to research my soul, but if you're not intending to modify my soul, I'm actually not inherently opposed to that. Not beyond the fact that it would be Ars doing it, anyway, but he doesn't have to know that. Vita's brutal honesty isn't exactly a good tool for diplomacy. I simply wish to continue my research in peace, Ars answers, and I very much wish I was still a near-perfect lie detector. That, I have to admit, is a very useful tool for diplomacy. Mind controlling the island isn't so much a goal for me as it is a means to an end. I need resources, and I need pesky zealots to stop bothering me and getting in my way. Being the sole uncontested ruler of Verdantop was a convenient way to accomplish both objectives. I chuckle at that. You know, as frightening as that is, you're quite right, I admit. While I'd normally call that somewhat extreme overkill, the truth is that Vulca is utterly unprepared for a tactic like that, thanks to the animancy ban. Were Sigulda and Baldone similarly defenseless? I've no idea about Sigulda, honestly, Ars shrugs. No one there should have any idea who I am, and if they do somehow resist the propagation talent they're likely to blame Vulca rather than me. Baldone was relatively troublesome, however. They don't use very advanced animancy, but they do use it frequently. It's part of their culture. Really? I ask, curious despite myself. Indeed, Ars confirms, on his part seeming rather bored. The days of death, they call it. After one's death, they are revived as a revenant and given a short time to fulfill the things they missed out on in life. One final farewell to the world before the Mistwatcher devours them. Naturally, this has become an entire industry, ingrained so deeply in culture that even the poorest and lowest are given opportunities to experience a few days of it, but the richer folk get better animancers that can keep their souls stable for longer. Inevitably, of course, people still degrade and die. It's barely better than Vulca's animancy knowledge, but it did mean I had to personally involve myself with assassinating or modifying the souls of quite a few people before their society as a whole was vulnerable. I'm vaguely curious about Baldone's culture now, but it's clear that ours isn't, and I want to keep the conversation on track. It's important to ensure he stays interested. I suspect that has been the downfall of many animancy-limited societies. I agree. All the more reason that promoting knowledge of the practice is important. Exactly. Ars agrees emphatically. Okay, I've got his attention now. If I'm reading him right, Ars isn't actually interested in ruling the country. He's letting Baldone waste away because he's not interested in ruling it. He only wants to exploit it for resources without anyone getting in his way. I can work with that. If your goal is simply to further our knowledge of the universe and anime in general, I think that's quite a noble one, I continue. The issue you're running into is the fact that people disagree with your methods, regardless of whether or not they think animancy should be banned. I need skilled animancers to investigate mysteries of the universe, and I'm quite aware that I am one of those mysteries. There are things I cannot allow you to do, methods I cannot allow you to continue with, but if you are willing to accept a slight reduction in efficiency, there's no reason your research can't continue regardless. That's an intriguing offer, Ars admits. But why should I limit myself when I am the one in a position of power? Because we both know your position is tenuous at best, I tell him. You've captured me and put me at your mercy, and you've escaped my comrades. But you have not defeated them. They are looking for you and they are looking for me, and when they arrive you will find yourself unprepared for them. I'm sure you could buy yourself plenty of time by running, and perhaps you could even try your hand at fighting them, but why bother? As I said, I want to know the answers to the same questions that you do. If you're willing to work within certain guidelines, I won't just allow you to investigate my soul, I'll hire you to. Well, that begs the question, what do you expect me to pay you with? What indeed, Nora writes, radiating coy delight. Would you get suspicious if I say I want a favor to be cashed in later? Yes, I answer bluntly. Yes, I would. That's unfortunate, because that's what I want, Nora chuckles. The fact that you had to ask means you know why, too. There is nothing you can offer me, is there, Vita? I'll admit that nothing comes to mind, I sigh. I don't know enough about you to know what to offer, really, and even if I did, I doubt there's much I can offer that you couldn't get for yourself in a relatively trivial manner. That's exactly right, Nora confirms proudly. You are currently quite worthless, Vita. Beyond your sentimental value, of course. Gee, thanks, I grunt. But you and I are immortal, dear sister. Eternal. Ever-growing, ever-changing, ever-advancing. A favor from beings such as us is a mighty thing indeed, even if I do not have a current reason to cash in on it. Someday, Vita, if you are prudent and wise, you will become my equal. I wish for a favor, and for your favor, in anticipation of that day. I think I would have called bullshit on that before I merged with Malrosa, but now I know that what she's talking about is hardly unheard of among the long-lived people of the world. A favor is as valuable as the person who owes it, and immortals all tend to get stronger over time. And it's not like Nora has to worry about me refusing to return said favor. If I piss her off enough, there's no end to the amount of horrible things she could put me through, up to and including annihilating me. And yet, is the prospect of giving her a blank check worth it? I hesitate, my mind immediately going to all the horrible dissections and abuses ours is probably doing to my body right now. I'm imprisoned and helpless, one of the worst possible situations to be in. Am I going to let myself be a victim again? Who do I trust more, Nora or ours? My insane, evil sister or my insane, evil father? I wish that was a harder question to answer, because it really feels like it should be. Get my soul back into my body and help my body get free, and I'll owe you that favor, I tell Nora. As well as our emotions when I murder him, of course. I think we may have a deal, Ars agrees. I don't like using inefficient methods, but I suppose I have all the time in the world. You've made the right decision, dear sister, Nora coos. Just clear me a path through your territory, and I will scour you a road home. I'm glad we could come to a peaceful compromise, I tell the man who created Vita, and then black mana erupts from my body and devours the room. It takes a split second to reorient myself once my soul slots back into place, albeit for two drastically different reasons. Conflicting sets of memories slam into each other, and though they were only separate for a few minutes, it's enough to almost distract me from my chance. Almost. Nora's mana curls around me, dancing around the Watcher Zone and bolstering my resistance enough to call on my power. Pushing aside the shock, I let my tendrils curl around my limbs and smash through the door of my prison cell, which flies off its hinges and nearly bowls us over as I lunge his way, grabbing his throat. Except. Wait. I just made a deal with this guy. Hold on, you did what? Why am I? You offered to hire Raz? That's completely. Why is all this Nora mana here? Wait, doesn't matter, never mind. We need to break all the enchantments in the room. I mean, I need to do that. And I agree. What? Oh, fuck it. I unleash a massive burst of myself, aiding the black in annihilating the yellow before shaping it all into a spell to rip any metal that isn't part of my armor into an unrecognizable mess. You got the situation handled now, darling? A female voice asks, and I realize it's Nora, using the mana she's pouring into the area to cast a chinemancy spell. Her voice somehow manages to carry the exact sort of amused haughtiness that I always imagined her speaking with. I'm not actually sure if she can hear me through her mana, so I answer by writing back in the mana ocean. I think so. I write hesitantly. Yep, I've got this, I write confidently and at exactly the same time. Wait. What? Am I back to being two people? Is there someone else in here? Yes. Apparently. I'm pretty sure I didn't ask that question. You did. Fuck. Is everything alright? Nora asks. Shit. Let's not look crazy in front of Nora, okay? All right, you not right? Yep. Cool. Sounds like a plan. I mean, yes. Probably, I hastily correct. Just some odd dissonance, but I'm sure I'll be back to normal soon. Thanks again, Nora. Well, if you say so, Nora writes back. Have fun torturing that man to death. God, your sister is so creepy. I mean my sister? Look, this is a terrible time to have an existential crisis. We can negotiate much better terms with us now that we're free. I tighten my grip on R's throat, my tendrils twitching murderously towards his soul. Negotiate? We're going to fucking murder this asshole. Why wouldn't we? Because he's a ridiculously skilled animancer that's willing to work with us? I keep my tendrils poised to kill, but go no further. He's at my mercy, so there's no reason to escalate. Most of our entire family are skilled animancers willing to work with us. And they have significantly more ethical sense than ours does, which is a bit disturbing of a comparison any way you slice it. Also, we promised Nara some second-hand sadism, which strikes me as a problem. Fuck. Again, this is the worst time to be having a mental breakdown. Who even are you? Who am I? We need to figure this out later. Ours is about to teleport. Oh, progenitor dammit. He vanishes from my hand before I can scour away the Mistwatcher mana he'd been hiding in his soul, which I almost certainly would have noticed if I wasn't so distracted by me, I guess. I failed to track him in time, but I also don't need to. His teleportation has only sent him about 6 miles away, so I can still feel his soul, giving me time to investigate the area around him for traps. It also gives me time to talk, I suppose. You wanna do that? I don't want to risk him teleporting away again, so no. Good point, me. I ignore the horror of the situation, and so do I, and we find a relatively safe spot and teleport in. Relatively safe for me, anyway. It's probably not safe for the dozen of bystanders around me. We appear to be in the middle of a small town, only 2 stories tall. Oz immediately fires a concentrated light ray at me when I appear, but having killed Vita with that trick once already, I came prepared. It scatters against the Kineman seed defenses in my armor, and my counterattack comes swiftly. I attempt a debilitating life art, which he resists, a bolt of lightning, which he redirects, and an ice bolt, which he dodges. It would probably be more effective to get in close and beat his ass, honestly. I signal displeasure with my eyes as I avoid his counterattack. War queens aren't really supposed to get close to enemies if we don't have to, but I do see the logic in this instance. Yeah, it'd be way easier to swap tactics. Here, let me handle it, I'm used to brawls. I swap over a bunch of my offensive magic into fueling my flight, bursting towards ours. He tries to fly away at first before noticing how much faster I am, so he dives towards the ground instead, where a bunch of gawking humans with red-stained souls have been watching instead of running away like smart people. Stop her. He orders them, and they all swivel to jump at me the moment I get close enough to the ground. I try to sneer, but I don't have the face for it. Do you really want to play that game, Oz? I ask. I've no qualms pulling out all the stops for a lying traitor such as yourself, he snaps back. We had a deal. Didn't count, wasn't me. What? I don't know. I laugh, and rip the souls out of the people in my way, stuffing them with shards and bringing them from his kingdom to mine. Capture ours. They ignore me, and keep trying to hold me down. They ignore me? I know. What the fuck? Wait. Nora did something to me. Wait, what did she? You let her touch our soul? Did you let the insane goddess that even Grandmama is afraid of touch our fucking soul? No. I didn't. I just gave her the opportunity to do so without my permission. But I was dying. Right, yeah, we were actually dying, probably. I see the memories now. Okay, well, fuck. She only separated the control system from the reanimation system. I can probably. Yeah, I think I see what she did. I'll just add both. Wait, but what about the ethics of ignoring the naggy bit of myself that doesn't even want to torture and murder my original biological father? I fish some control shards out of my soul and shove those into my new revenants as well, which gets them off my back. This is really fucked up. They attacked me. That means they're fair game. Shut up, weird voice in my head. Weird voice in your, excuse me? I'm you. Fuck this, I'm taking control here. Removing the control shards, I ascend into the sky and easily bypass the civilians I never should have murdered in the first place. I wouldn't complain about killing aggressive humans normally, but these ones were mind-controlled against their will, and we're not making things better by just shoving an even stronger mental compulsion on top of that. I'm going to rule this island, and that means I have to care about the people on it. Okay, I guess I can see the problem when you phrase it like that. I really need to figure out what the fuck is going on with my mind right now, but I'll take that agreement as a good sign and focus on the more immediate problem first. Oz got away while I was bickering with myself. Another teleport. I weave the necessary art and follow him, ending up over a massive lake. Ooh, I hope he thinks he can escape from us underwater. That'd be fun. I suppose that would be amusing, yeah. The tear basin was an enjoyable swim. No time to think about it, though. I rocket towards us again, ignoring my instincts to just stay back and cast projectiles. I need to get him within my mana field. I do cast a bunch of projectiles though, because that's just good combat sense when you have a soul that can't be strained by overweaving and your opponent does not. Wait, you're trying to tire him out? Tiring out weaker artists is a great idea. Why wouldn't we be tiring him out? Ours has an absurd amount of talents that he's using to drastically improve the efficiency of all the spells he's using, but he still has a limit to the amount of time he can go full blast, and we don't. I guess, but it seems unnecessary. Our mana might be functionally limitless, but it's not actually limitless. Covering fire is good for other reasons, me. Do you have a name, by the way? I'm a combination of Vita and Malrosa. I have no idea who the fuck you are. I'm also a combination of Vita and Malrosa? I'm not sure why I wouldn't be. This is so weird. I hope we merge back together. I kind of hope we don't. Oh boy. So, about that job offer. Ours yelps at me. At us? Is that still on the table? Well, I was serious about that, I admit. But he's an insane fucking monster that can't be trusted. But upon further re-evaluation it's hard to deny the fact that you're an insane fucking monster that can't be trusted, so no, I'll probably kill you. And torture him. At least a little bit. We promised. That isn't exactly what we promised. We just promised to give Nora the emotional experience of his death. Yeah, but do you want to be the one giving Nora a disappointing show? Okay, that's true, I definitely don't want that. Wait, are we afraid of disappointing her because she fucked with our soul? That is a very good question. I hope not. We were afraid of her before this crazy bullshit, right? Yeah, we definitely were. Okay. That's good. But what if the torture makes it all feel fake or something? Okay. He's already losing hope. We keep going just long enough for him to realize he'll die and then finish him off. Pain beyond that isn't needed. Agreed. You don't want to do this? Nope. Let me? Yeah, alright. Cool. I got this. I'll rip him to shreds. I want to protest these accusations of insanity, Oz says, protesting my accusations of insanity, but for the sake of brevity I'd prefer to just insist that I am not untrustworthy, particularly when an individual such as yourself can make trust a non-issue. I ignore him and don't respond, focusing my attention entirely on catching up to. Is he offering to become a revenant? Who cares? We're killing him. Well, that is a prerequisite to making him a revenant, yes. Fuck. Okay. That's kind of tempting. But we can worry about that later. Either way, we're killing him and we need to actually do that. Fair point. But if he's offering to become a revenant, doesn't that mean he'll just let us kill him if we talk to him for a bit? I guess. But that doesn't sound satisfying in the slightest. This guy should suffer for what he's done. Also, you're fucking distracting me. We don't have time for this conversation. I wrap my tendrils around the spiral hilts of the 6 anima tangible daggers on my belt, tossing the one with the returning enchantment at R's face in lieu of an answer. He dodges, of course, but we'll see if he can dodge it on the return trip while simultaneously focusing on all the other stuff I'm shooting at him to slow him down. I am not very comfortable with this whole concept of deserved torture, for the record. Oh my god, this is Pent all over again, except I can't threaten you to shut you up. What the fuck? When did we get this bad? Okay, yeah, that might have been too much. I'm just pissed off and trying to concentrate, okay? I watch as Oz flies low again, murdering 2 random civilians and quickly twisting them into those ravenous, screaming soul snakes I saw him kill a High Templar with once. I'm not really sure why he bothers. I just snatch each of them out of the sky with a tendril, smash them to bits, and eat them. Look, I'm just saying, if people deserve a certain amount of suffering based on their past actions, then what the fuck do we deserve? Excuse me? What do we deserve? You can't possibly be deluding yourself into thinking that everything we've done is justified, can you? There was a time when we were good, maybe. Back when we hid our powers, fed our family, and did our best to survive. But then we got caught up with Penelope's Numa research, and then we fucked up Lark's life even though we could tell she'd changed, and then we killed Nora, and then, well, we pretty much stopped trying to do the right thing after Site 4, didn't we? How can you? If anyone in the fucking world deserved their fate, it was the bastards running Site 4. For what? Making monsters helpless and beating the snot out of them? Isn't that what we're about to do? He's ours fucking Rainier. Look around us. Baldoan wasn't doing anything other than minding their own watch a damn business, and then he shows up and ruins their entire country inside of a month. He has destroyed uncountable lives. Driven villages to starvation. All for the sake of getting resources to do more unethical human experimentation on the populace. I feel like the circumstances are a little bit fucking different here. Yeah, well, we let him out, didn't we? My mind goes blank for a moment. All of it. I don't have anything to say to myself for a while, just mindlessly slapping aside R's offensive onslaught. I'm really not liking this untimely burst of introspectiveness. And I'm not a huge fan of how we had to be snapped in half by a madman's trap before we started thinking about these things seriously. But what do I know? I'm just you. We need names. Well, we already have 2 of them. True. But both of us are both of them, so who's who? You seem particularly inclined to defend Vita's bullshit, so you can be her. And Melrosa is a saint? Melrosa is a racist, xenophobic, genocidal child, and I'm starting to suspect those are the parts of her that you embraced most. But at least when Melrosa became part of us we took a second look at her biases. So sure. I'll be Melrosa. Fuck you, me. You're just mad because I'm right. Sure, but that doesn't make me any less mad. Our teleport is ready. His isn't. Finally. Twisting my gathered self, I teleport next to ours and engulf him in mana, cutting off his flight, and all of his other magical abilities, almost immediately, catching him by the armpit to hold him in place. I don't drop my guard, though, because I don't feel ours lose hope. You really think none of my talents are physical in nature? He taunts, palm striking towards my body with impressive force. I block with the blade of a dagger, causing him to stab himself. You know, I have a particular disdain for fathers that get physical with their children, I tell him calmly, catching his bleeding hand with one of my 3 empty ones. The first person I ever murdered was like that. He was also the first man I ever ate. I grab his uninjured hand and swiftly break all of his fingers, just in case he wants to try anything else stupid. I'll admit, they're far tougher than I'd ever expect human bone to be, but I can smash through solid walls and chew raw metal. I really don't know what he was expecting. To his credit, ours doesn't seem overly affected by the pain, but I guess living for a decade and a half in Site 4 tends to add that sort of resistance to a person. I can't even imagine how awful that must have been for him. I frown with my eyes, uncurling my many tendrils to wrap them around ours hideous, bulging soul. You're not going to keep advocating for this man's life, are you, Melrosa? No. He needs to die. Good. And frankly, I don't want him around either. He'll be a better meal than a slave. For an animancer as skilled as he is, I suppose that's wise. Do it. I nod, squeezing his soul ever harder, giving both ours and I the time to savor his death. To realize that the damage I'm doing is not just to kill, but to shatter. I wait for the moment his eyes go wide, the moment he realizes he's never coming back. The moment the terror of dreams never realized hits him in full, and then I finish the job. I rip the man that created me to pieces and swallow the shards. He is unspeakably delicious. An urge takes me and I roar in triumph, ripping his corpse in half with my bare hands and letting it fall on either side of me. The still mind-controlled people in this Baldanese city look on in horror as their god splatters dead on the ground. I am their only god now. Whoa there. Are you okay? Maybe dial it back a little? Our complex is showing. But I'm pretty literally a god? It's not a complex if it's true. We're only a god in the sense that we're the same type of being as the Mistwatcher, which is something we've spent quite some time trying to convince people not to worship. So, is this my life now? Is someone in my head just going to berate me for every single thing I do? Are you the deserved punishment you were talking about? I don't think so. I mean, I hope not. I dunno. There was a moment for a while there when I didn't have a soul at all. I was powerless. I thought I might be powerless forever. So I made a deal with us to get you back sooner. Then you come back without my help and you're extra pissed about everything and it just feels different from before. Not entirely different. Remember when we told Penelope to call us Melrosa? Yeah, that was weird. We just weren't feeling very much like being Vita at the time, I guess. Actually, I think that was you feeling not very much like me at the time. I suspect we might have already been splitting. I expect a response when I think that, and I both get one and don't. Melrosa simply agrees. I just know that. I guess that makes sense. It's not really something we need to put into words. We're communicating within our own mind, and both of us are already an odd mix of two long-gone individuals and each other. Taking the mental energy to verbalize this conversation is, in retrospect, unneeded effort. Not verbalizing things feels particularly strange, though. Feeling Melrosa's impressions instead of hearing her words immediately has me wondering if I just made this whole mental conversation up. Nope, you didn't, I'm still here. And I don't know if that's reassuring or not. This is strange. Very strange. But I still have shit to do, namely getting back to Penelope and deciding what to do about this mind control plague. I can figure out whatever Melrosa's deal is later. It feels really weird calling her Melrosa, since we're both made of Melrosa, but I know she feels weird about calling me Vita for the same reason, so I guess we'll just compromise by being weird together. It's not like there's any way I can get rid of her other than to wait. A hesitance that isn't my own bubbles forth at that. I'm suddenly aware that we don't know which of us would be gotten rid of, if that's what happens. This isn't like a lich possession, or a child of Nora taking control. We aren't conflicting in that way. We're different people, but we're also somehow the same. There are a surprisingly varied number of ways for me to end up sharing my body with someone else, aren't there? Sighing, I slot in the coordinates of where Penelope originally teleported from and pop back into the lab we first found ours in. Penelope and Lark mid-turn into combat stances facing my direction. I hold up my hands in surrender, giving them time to see that it's just me before making any major movements. They relax a bit. Melrosa, Penelope corrects herself incorrectly. You're back. We were about to come looking for you. It's Vita right now, I tell her. And yeah, sorry about that. Some crazy shit happened, but I got him. He's dead now. It's Vita right now? Jaleesa asks before anyone else can. Not important, I dismiss, and immediately feel guilty about it. I guess Melrosa disagrees. Okay, kind of important. Uz tried to trap me by pumping me full of Watchamana, which almost killed me and ended up clogging the brain-soul link a bit, and now I'm running in parallel, I guess? It's fine though, I'm handling it. We're definitely not handling it, and we should ask our friends for help. Okay, that's kind of a lie. But, first and foremost, I ate my not dad and now we have his country to deal with. Penelope glances to the side, briefly looking at Capita's unconscious form when I mention that I ate ours, but her focus swaps back to me shortly afterwards. This country won't suffer any more than it already has if we take a few minutes to rest, she says. So frankly, I think this issue is a higher priority. As powerful as you are, it would be incredibly dangerous if you turn out to be unstable. Unstable? Like you're one to talk. I snap back at her, causing her soul to twitch in a way that's probably quite uncomfortable. That kind of talk hurts operation, whoop Penelope, you know. I don't particularly like this situation, but I take offense to any implication that it means I'm crazy. Yelling at someone is a terrible method of convincing them that you're mentally sound. Here, let me handle this. I take a swift breath, stretching my shoulders and descending to the ground so I can fold in my wings and stand respectfully. Apologies, I open with. What we mean to say is that, while our current situation is distressing, it's hardly outside our range of experience. As strange as it is having two of us in here, we're cooperating and intend to continue doing so. There's no immediate need for action. Whoa, okay, Jaleesa says, her eyes widening a bit. You'd be Melrosa, then? I'm flattered you can tell so easily, I confirm. Though I'd like to clarify I'm not the original Melrosa. I am no more the Athanatos that was possessed by a lich than Vita is the lich which possessed an Athanatos. We're both. We divided our collective names somewhat arbitrarily. Well, I don't want to Define your identity for you, I guess, but I suspect you're a bit more Malrosa than you are Vita, Jaleesa says. Vita does not talk like that. Well, that's a bad habit on her part, I protest, crossing my lower pair of arms. We've had the same formal speech training, I'm just actually bothering to use it. I just kind of forget to talk like that. I'm used to talking how I talk. She says she's used to talking how she talks and not thinking about it, I announce for her. Anyway, I'd prefer this not to be the object of immediate attention. We've yet to really grasp our situation, and for all we know it will end on its own in the near future. What will not end on its own is the Anima plague, and I have a few potential solutions we can pick from. I conjure up a few illusions of a close equivalent to how I perceive the cascading Numa art, red and pulsing, before changing the color of a few of them and pointing to the white one. No matter what we do, it's pretty much going to involve piggybacking on the pre-existing structure ours designed to create a new talent with the effect of seeking out and replacing old versions of ours talent, changing the compulsion to love, respect, and obey ours into something else entirely. The first and most obvious choice is this one, it replaces the compulsion for ours with nothing at all. The talents will simply be inert outside of providing and spreading immunity to ours version. You can just do that? Lark asks. Why are we even having this conversation, then? That's obviously going to be the best option, right? No, I answer frankly. It's arguably the most moral option, but my opinion is that it is a terrible option. Well, of course yours is, she growls. Lark, Penelope says kindly but firmly. Let her speak. Thank you, Penelope, I say, sending appreciation with my eyes. As the animancers here have probably guessed, the reason this is a terrible plan is because ours infection has been getting spread for months now. A substantial percentage of people on the island have already adapted to these changes, so while we would be removing the compulsion to love ours, they'd still continue to love him anyway. The end result of which being everywhere from revolutionaries trying to become like him and take his place to insane cults worshipping their fallen god, Penelope grunts. It solves the moral issue of not using mind control of our own, but it still functionally leaves the populace mind controlled into servitude of a monster. I agree with Malrosa, that isn't an option. Which is where things get tricky, I nod. Because the question just becomes, what flavor of mind control do we use? I hate animancy, Lark hisses. That's pretty fair, I agree. It's really fucked up. Still, though, is there any reason we can't just reverse the compulsion? Jaleesa asks. Hate ours instead of love him? Other than the fact that forcing someone to hate something is just as fucked up as forcing them to love it. No, I guess not. It'd be terrible to saddle people with negative emotions for the rest of their lives, though. We don't have to do the rest of their lives, Penelope muses. We can compel them to hate ours, then a year or so later when the spread is complete we replace it with the blank slate talent. It still has the mind control problem, but we're not going to be able to avoid that, and hating ours is imminently reasonable for any rational individual. That's an option, I concede. Here's what I'm worried about, though. We instill everyone with a compulsory hatred of a country-conquering animancer immediately before an animancer, go and take over their country. What happens? Bloodshed, Penelope sighs. And a lot of it. Yes, I see your point. Are you seriously trying to argue that using mind control to ease your conquest is a good thing? Lark asks. No, it would definitely be evil, I answer. But we're already using mind control to forcibly reverse an already present mess of mind control, and I'm just not sure it'd be less evil to stack a ton of avoidable deaths on top of that. I think a significant percentage of humans would rather die than be controlled in that way, Jaleesa says softly. I throw my hands up in exasperation. Well, humans are crazy, I snap. I don't know what else to say to that. Killing humans is something everyone keeps saying I should do less of, and I don't see a better way of accomplishing that here. You can just not take over the island. Lark counters. I don't know why that's such a difficult thing to wrap your head around. You need resources, right? That's why you're here? Just take them from the forest and leave the humans alone. The humans won't leave me alone. I growl, uncurling my tentacles. They've never done it before and they aren't going to start now. Seriously, you were with the Templars. What happens if I quietly establish a hive rock colony in the center of the island and just promise to leave everyone alone? They send people after you, Lark sighs. That's true. But at least you'd just be defending yourself instead of, you know. Well, maybe I don't want to spend my whole fucking life defending myself from idiots that can't take a hint. And you think a solution to that is running a country? Penelope asks incredulously. You think being in charge of everyone is going to get them to leave you alone? If it means I can just fucking make them do whatever I want, yes. Vita? Jaleesa says quietly, clearing her throat. What? I growl at her. No, I mean, you're Vita, right? She asks. Like, currently? Yes? I say, tilting my head in confusion. I guess so. When did you two switch? Sorry, I'm just trying to figure things out. I flick my wings. When did we switch? I don't remember exactly. Melrosa doesn't either, but I'm Vita. Not Melrosa. But she was definitely the one talking before, right? I don't know, I admit. We don't know. Jaleesa tries to give me a calming smile, but I can feel the stress in her soul. I guess that's fair. I'm starting to freak out a little, myself. Okay, maybe we should put a pin in things for now, then, Jaleesa says. Before you decide what you want your future to be, I think you need to have a better idea of who you are.